Why would I make them so uncomfortable?
It probably has to do with your reputation. They feel your methods, your theories are...
Spooky? Do you think I'm spooky?
His face was so blank and expressionless. He didn't even seem human.
I'm not turning my back on anyone!
Have you ever found a metal implant in your body? You checked everywhere?
Mulder, you have to understand!
Put it down!
You put it down first!
Scully!
Free Mulder. Release him. Free him. Let him roam free. Yeah, no, don't do that. Mulder's an indoor cat.
Yes. Oh,
yeah. You can't let Mulder outside.
No, for not just for his sake, but for everybody's.
Right, for the sake of the neighborhood.
Yeah. Hi, everyone.
Hello, everyone.
Welcome to a brand new and free episode of Fox Mulder is a Maniac.
Absolutely free.
Woo! Yeah. We've been looking for a good season 8er.
We hadn't done one in a while. What was the last free one we did?
I don't know. I'm not going to look it up.
Was it the Batman one? No, it probably wasn't the Batman.
No, I don't think we've done a season 8. Someone correct me if I'm wrong, but I do not think so. I think we're in a season that is seen as less hype.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
No, 100%.
So,
yeah.
I also didn't remember season 8 that much. So there's also this thing where it's like, I don't look at episode titles of season 8 and go, oh, that's got to be a free one, you know?
Yeah, these episodes kind of sneak up on us.
Right. As did this one.
Because it's like The Gift. Oh, what's that? Oh, shit, this is one where Dog gets eaten.
Yeah. Yeah, that would have been a good contender, but we went with this one. Folks, for people just joining us, for people who perhaps aren't subscribed to our Patreon, patreon.com/gamefullyunemployed, we have a show on our Patreon called Fox Mulder is a Maniac. It's the one you are currently listening to this moment. And what we do, is we, me and Tom here, we watch the X-Files and we talk about how Agent Fox Mulder perhaps shouldn't be a FBI agent and perhaps shouldn't be in like polite society.
Right. He shouldn't be allowed to walk among us just freely. Yeah.
He is, in fact, a maniac. This is a show we do exclusively on our Patreon, unless we release free episodes. So if this, if this gets you off, you might want to go back and subscribe to our Patreon, where you will see episode after episode, like over 100, scores of episodes for every single episode of the X-Files.
Yeah, it's well over 100 at this point. I think we're approaching 200 at this point.
We're getting there. We're not quite there. We did the season 1, then after that comes 2, and so on and so forth. You know how numbers work. And that means we're now at season 8, episode 13, otherwise known as Per Manum. This is Pernamum. I wouldn't call this like an iconic episode. It was one we felt should be free just because of the madness.
It's pretty
within it.
It's pretty nuts in a couple of spots, but also, and this wasn't a reason we intended. This is just kind of a happy accident. This is sort of kicking off the next big mythology storyline, right?
That is correct.
Like this
appears to be.
This is kicking off the super soldiers.
Yeah, and Scully's baby and all that stuff.
Yeah.
For people who don't recall, season 8 is the beginning of Mulder's abduction. What actually happened is that David Duchovny did not want to make that many episodes anymore. And for season 8,
I want to go do movies.
Yes, he wanted to be playing God.
He wanted to be a movie star. Yeah.
Yeah.
He wanted to go do Evolution.
Yeah. And you know what? The world is better for it. One could argue.
It's definitely not like a net loss. Evolution, like the world's not a worse place for evolution.
Sure, yeah, I think so. And so for season 8, David Duchovny, after contractual discussions, agreed for 11 episodes of this season. This is the 4th appearance of Duchovny. If people are wondering what have we been doing without Mulder, is we've been talking a lot about how Scully is kind of
Scully's really trying to be like
fill those shoes.
Yeah, she's trying to be like older brother when dad dies. Like she's trying to step in and occupy that Mulder role, and she's pretty shaky. She's not sure of herself, but this season, like I feel like she's overcorrecting hardcore because she's going really bananas this season and just trying to
really
be like,
is.
Man, what would Mulder do in this situation? Which is never a question you should ask yourself.
Oh, yeah. We've also been exploring John Doggett, and we have a new segment about how he doesn't need this because John Doggett's entire deal as the sort of not replacement for Mulder, but they brought in Robert Patrick to,
be the new partner.
He'd be the new partner.
It's a new dynamic.
And what that really means is that John Doggett has been just ruined psychologically, physically in the 13 episodes he's been around. In the last episode, she made him go into the subway alone to fight like a virus.
Yep. And in this episode, she just is like, okay, you're in charge of the X-Files now. Bye.
Bye. Yeah. He's like, I didn't want this at all. Like he was brought in to find Mulder, and now he's getting attacked by like subway viruses,
subway
and bat
squids and bat people, and he's getting eaten.
This was not what he signed up for. John Doggett does not need this.
He's a very serious investigator. He's the kind of dude that you'd put to like find Ted Kaczynski, and they're throwing him on Bigfoot cases.
Yeah. It's a wonderful dynamic. Like I was really worried going into this season, and there is just so much so much meat to chew in these episodes that don't have Mulder.
Yeah. I think
However,
this season has the season's not good, but I think the Mulderless episodes, I watching them now 20 years removed, I do think they get a worse rap because I do think the dynamic between Doggett and Scully is interesting. I like Doggett. I could have seen the show kind of going in a slightly different direction with the dynamic between these two characters.
It's Colin Quinn doing Weekend Update after Norm Macdonald. Does that make sense?
A little bit, but I don't think Colin Quinn's particularly good, but I do understand what you're saying.
That's fair. What I'm saying is that like it's hard to move on from Mulder. I mean, Scully is fantastic. Gillian Anderson, we love her, but like I understand why people at the time, including myself, was like, this doesn't feel like the show I
wrote
wrote
the show off at this point. Like I really from the time Duchovny left the show, I really only saw a couple more episodes.
Right, and they kind of ended the series around season 5. Like they jumped the shark around that, where they closed out the Syndicate.
They ended the Syndicate, yeah, which was the first big overall mythology storyline. And now this episode is the beginning of the Super Soldier one, which is like infinitely weirder.
Yes. It's actually early mystery box, where it's like they opened the mystery box around season 5, and then with Mulder's sister, they do that around season 6 or 7, and now they're just sort of like tap dancing because no one told them to stop, and they're like, well, we like money, and like for that reason, it's a little aimless, but it's still very talented people making these episodes. So
yeah, it's much more Monster of the Week in season 8.
Right.
Most episodes are bottle episodes.
Yeah. And so, like we said, this is more of mythology. Mm-hmm. This is also the introduction of Adam Baldwin.
Sure is.
Everybody loves Adam Baldwin. And he apparently auditioned for the part of Doggett. He lost.
I could see that, yeah.
Yeah. They're like, you're too tall. Because he's really tall in this. I know
he is massive. Like that's a thing you forget about Adam Baldwin, is that he's a massive dude.
Yeah, but he did good in the audition, so they're like, let's bring him back for. And he looks like he'd be friends with Doggett. He looks like a Doggett friend,
They don't. It's unclear whether they're friends in this episode. That's
true. They just look like they'd hang out.
They have like a professional respect for each other, but like you're not sure about Adam Baldwin. Which,
Don't
like,
you want to see them hang out, like go to the movies together?
I really want to see how they became friends. But I also want to underline that what I said just a second ago, you're not really sure about Adam Baldwin. That's like an evergreen statement.
Yes, it is.
But anyway,
he's a real Adam Baldwin.
He's a real Adam Baldwin character. Yeah.
Yeah. So this episode is, cucked by an alien. That would be the scandalous novel version, right? It's about
man. I can see that Weekly World News front page.
100%.
Cucked by an alien.
Yeah, it's about alien babies, women giving birth to alien babies.
Yeah.
And Scully is also super preggo, but she's not telling anybody. And boy, we will talk about all of that. Mm-hmm. But this is like kind of, she already announced she was pregnant on the show, but this is like a first pregnancy episode that I remember. And she's, of course, kind of worried that she might got a little alien,
right,
squiggling around, right, squirming inside of her.
Like the X-File basically is this dude, Duffy Haskell, in the cold open, sees his wife is giving birth, and these doctors are performing the birth, and they shoo him out of the room and lock him out, and then she gives birth to an alien baby. So we, in the show, this guy, Duffy, goes to Doggett, I guess. He had been sending a bunch of letters to Mulder in the past, but basically he's trying to get the X-Files to look into what's happening with his wife and what has happened to similar women who mysteriously got pregnant. They had a history of alien abductions, and they died during childbirth, and he's alleging that the doctors killed her and stole the alien baby. So Doggett's looking into this, and he presents all this information, and it's all lining up exactly to what happened to Scully. So Scully gets freaked out. And makes it her personal mission to make sure that her baby that she's currently pregnant with isn't an alien, and also to get to the bottom of this alien baby nonsense. And she doesn't.
No, she doesn't.
She super
this is
doesn't.
kind of a cliffhanger.
Yeah. It's like we said, it's kind of like setting up the next phase of the mythology of the X-Files.
Yeah, Adam Baldwin kind of betrays her, and they're like, she gave birth to the baby and it was fine. And she's like, it was not fine. It was an alien, but she has no proof. Should we get into our first segment?
We should.
The World's Luckiest Detective. This is when the case just sort of falls into their lap. I mean, it happened a lot for Mulder. The main reason about this was how Mulder kind of just lucks into everything. But as does Scully and Doggett. I would say a big lucky part of this is, was there a reason this person came to Scully? Who happened to be pregnant at the same time?
Apparently, we learned that this guy,
pen pals,
Duffy Haskell, is a spook. He's like a CIA plant. He's not really who he says he is. And apparently, he's been trying to steer Scully into going to this hospital the whole time. So, okay,
so there is a reason.
Yeah. So the luckiest detective part is it's just they're just cogs in a conspiracy in this episode. That's it.
Yeah, they really are. They're just being pushed around. I mean, there's some moments like Scully stumbles into the dead baby museum.
Oh my God.
Which is a weird moment because
yeah, I had that written down. Just the genetics lab just has all of its dead freak babies on display in an unlocked room.
Yes, and she just stumbles into it, and that's her first red flag. But also the doctor comes in, and he's like, who let you in here? And she just awkwardly leaves.
Right, he's like, you shouldn't be up here. You should be waiting up front. And there are Bacta tanks full of freak babies behind him.
And at no point is
mutants, absolute mutants. And he's like, you should wait in the lobby.
Yeah, and it's kind of the next segment, but Scully just leaves. Yeah. And I was like, that's odd.
I feel like you should arrest him on sight for crimes against humanity.
Right.
Are you seeing that it's the alien resurrection room she just walked into?
Yeah. And I think the overall luckiness of this, besides also the woman showing up and being like, hi, you and our babies are in danger. And it just sort of hitting Scully as soon as she's super pregnant. But the bad guys are terrible. They leave their evidence out. She gets Scully when she brings the woman to the hospital that she thinks is safe. She's like, also, give me an ultrasound while I'm here.
Yeah,
fuck it.
Might as well do there's a certain type of test they can do. I forget what it's called, but anyway, she asks. She basically just is like, might as well have an OBGYN checkup while I'm here with this woman who I believe the government is coming to kill to steal her alien baby. Yeah. Might as well just have a checkup while I'm here.
Right, the hospital's like, it's 2-for-1 Friday, and she's like, oh, okay, cool.
Sweet. Glad I came here on this day.
They examine the baby on the ultrasound. They're like, look, the baby's fine. And then the woman's like, I have to go. And she leaves Scully in the room where a VCR is attached to the ultrasound and playing in plain sight.
Yeah.
And Scully just looks in and goes like, huh, that's weird. And ejects it, and the ultrasound tape has another woman's name on it. And it's like, so you guys didn't even try to hide the fact that you were showing her a pre-taped ultrasound, huh?
Yeah.
Like, that's what tips Scully off. And it's like, you could do better, right? Like, you could do better. You could have the VCR hidden.
That's like the whole episode is kind of like that, which tickles me that it's just kind of a really sloppy conspiracy. They just don't care.
Yes.
They're like, well, whatever. Even if she finds the evidence, we're just going to cover it up and make her look like she's crazy. So that's like the essence of Luckiest Detective for this episode. It's just that the conspiracy is so sloppy, they just don't care.
They really don't. Again, they keep all their dead babies in just a room that's unlocked.
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah, it's our baby room.
In backlit tanks, they're on display.
Right. They're like action figures.
Like aquariums in this room. They're just like on display.
Just I like having them. I like having them in this room. You know, I do a video game stream in this room. It's a good backdrop. You know, it's cool.
Yeah,
like
it's like people who collect like medical oddities, like oddities, like medical specimens in jars. Like, I don't know, just I'm interested in the science behind it. It's like, no, you're just a weird fucking freak, aren't you?
Yeah,
well, that's what this guy is.
Yeah, he really is. It's the weirdest room to have in a hospital. Like,
yeah, well, it's a genetics lab, which is the funniest thing to like. Right. Yeah, it I forget what it was called, but it's just like something genetics. It's like full on just a gene splicing lab that she takes this pregnant lady to, and it has a room full of babies, mutant babies in canisters, and she's just like, well, I'll go wait in the lobby.
Why don't they dispose? It's like when a bar has all the fake IDs up on the wall. It's just like, I don't know, we just think it's fun to have these here. You know what I mean? Where it's like normally you destroy something like that, right? It's medical waste.
For that, I think the idea is like bouncers can look and see if the same person is trying to come back in. But anyway.
That's fair. But so what you're saying is that has more use than this dead baby
That is
museum.
more like function than this dead baby museum, correct?
Yeah. Yeah, I really don't know because, okay, maybe they need the DNA on file. Okay, put them in a freezer. Put them in a drawer. You don't need to like visually see them. Why would you do that at all?
No idea.
No idea.
It just has them. They have them displayed like pop figurines.
They really do, and like that. The episode should have come to a screeching halt, and Scully should have been like, "I'm sorry, I'm getting a team in
that
here."
should be the rest of the episode is investigating that room.
Right, that room is an X-file.
Yeah.
Like, who did that? Why would they do it?
That room is a felony.
Yeah, it really is. So I don't have much for Luckiest Detective.
It's really just that. Yeah, it's a sloppy conspiracy.
The conspiracy theory. It really is. It feels like it's like the episode where Mulder was like, Scully, I'm always right. Can you just deal with that? It feels like the conspiracy people are like, they never find, like they always find just enough. But like, we all know what's up here. Like, we don't have to care as much anymore. Like, they know there's aliens. It's like, it's like when in a fucking Scorsese film, whenever the FBI and the mob are like playing a game where it's like, yeah, we all know the score here. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, damn, are we ready for our next segment then?
I think we are. I think it's time. This is to abduct a pregnant woman and drive her to a weird genetics laboratory that has a dead baby museum.
Yep.
Because it's time for Scully After Dark.
Ooh, yeah.
Holy
okay,
shit,
well,
this
do we want to... Do we want to start with Scully? Because I got to tell you, there's Mulder After Dark.
That's
We haven't even
true.
talked about
Man,
it.
I screwed it up two episodes in a row.
It's okay. Folks,
This time,
Mulder is in this.
It's time to put on your best casual wear and just crash on your partner's couch after jerking off in a cup for her. Because it's Mulder After Dark.
Oh, yeah, it is. Mulder is in flashbacks in this, and we get, I believe, exactly three flashbacks.
3 or 4 scenes with Mulder.
Yeah, maybe 4. And he is immediately
His first scene in this episode, spoilers, is a 10 for Crazy like a Fox.
Yeah, this is I can't fucking believe this. I can't believe it to the extent that I wasn't sure I had seen it correctly. I was like, surely that's not the scene.
Right, you like rewound it.
Yeah. So flashback 1. So this is all around Scully and her baby, right?
Yes.
And what we learn is that Scully has been going to a doctor and finding out that she can't have children.
Real quick, I want to point out that her doctor's name is Dr. Parenti.
Okay.
Dr.
What's this?
Parent I.
Oh.
Parenti.
God, it's a fake name. She should have known.
Dr. Parenti. That's like being called Dr. Babini or something. Anyway.
And so Scully obviously is pregnant. So these flashbacks is like, okay, this is interesting. She gets in an elevator with Mulder.
She sure does.
And she had just gone to the doctor. And I really got to set this up because she says to Mulder, like, I don't want to keep things from you. Because at first he's like, how'd it go? And she's like, fine. And then he kind of gives her a look or something. And she's like, we're friends. Friends don't keep things from each other. This is more or less what she says. And she's like, so I guess I'm going to tell you, I just found out that I can't have children. And after this very vulnerable moment, Mulder replies with basically, yeah, I know.
Yeah. He's like, so he asks, he sees Scully in the elevator. He asks her, how did it go? And she says, oh, it went fine. And then he like stops the elevator doors from closing. I feel like that's important because she was trying to end the conversation. So Mulder forces this conversation. And he's like, no, really, tell me what's wrong.
Can't stress that it's like Scully saying, like, I'm going to put myself out there. We trust each other.
Yeah.
It's a moment of trust.
Yeah. She's like, oh, I should have told you. I'm barren after my abduction. I can't give birth. I never told you, even though you were always there for me during my abduction, all these hard times. I can't give birth anymore after this abduction. And then Mulder basically says, I know. I actually know the reason why you're barren. It's like,
so it turns out
he says he unloads all of this. He's like, oh, I already know that you're barren. I actually know the reason why you're barren. It's because your ova were scooped out and stored in a government lab.
Yes.
I took your eggs to a scientist to tell me if they were okay. He said no, so I didn't tell you because I couldn't bear to give you another piece of bad news. Then he gets off the elevator, Dave. He is leaving the conversation at that point.
So, Scully was abducted how many seasons ago? Maybe 4?
4. I think it was season 2.
Yeah. So
so 6 seasons ago.
Yeah.
Oh, then she was abducted again with Veronica Cartwright, wasn't she? Anyway, it's I think she's been abducted twice, season 2 and season 5, maybe? Anyway.
Something like that. What that means is for at least a few years, Mulder has just been sitting on the knowledge that his friend is barren and not telling her. And when she says, oh, friends share secrets, he's like, oh, yeah, I already knew that secret because I've been betraying your trust about an extremely important part of your anatomy, your body. And then he leaves.
Not only
and Scully doesn't immediately attack him.
No, they just continue their conversation for a little bit. But like, not only is it, I already knew this secret and I didn't tell you. It's, oh, I found your eggs in a lab and I took them. Your eggs were in my possession.
I did some lab work with your eggs.
I took them to a doctor to have them checked out.
played with them in my car while I was driving there in traffic.
Dave, why would he do that without talking to her? I want to see if these eggs are still good.
Yeah.
He went to fucking Chuck.
Yeah, of course
He took those eggs to Chuck.
He made some like gross jokes with Chuck about her eggs.
Oh man, it was foul. They can't air the conversation he had with Chuck.
That is just the most upsetting fucking sequence.
Like he basically tells her, "Yes, I know why you're barren. It was because the government stole your eggs. I found them. I took them to get them tested. They were no good, so I threw them away." That's basically what he tells her.
She's like, I also go through your laundry. Like, it's just like really fucking weird and invasive of Mulder to have known this, kept it for like that is.
Well,
I
know we've established it's like canon that Mulder goes through people's trash.
Of course.
So he does not see these boundaries. They're simply not visible to him.
He has watched Scully through high-powered fucking binoculars.
Hell yeah,
for no good reason. Holy fucking shit. And that scene, that's flashback 1 with Mulder.
That's like 10 minutes into the episode. They hit you with this.
That I can't fucking believe that this would be okay. And I guess I have to go into Scully After Dark because this is one thing after a next, and this episode just pummels you. So flashback 2, after learning that Mulder has secretly been keeping this from her, and generally just knowing who Mulder is, Scully goes to Mulder and says, I want to try to have a child. I want you to be the sperm donor. Absolutely fucking outrageous.
Nope.
That Scully would look at Mulder and go, I need that juice in me.
Yeah, I need some of this. I need some of this DNA. And in that scene, she actually thought Mulder would say no.
Right. And of course, Mulder says, he talks about, at that part, I'm a pro about jerking off.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Mulder has never refused a request for his sperm.
Yeah. I was surprised he didn't like mail her his jizz after this.
Right, I'm surprised he didn't.
Completely unclear about the process.
I'm surprised he didn't just get up and go into the next room and pull some out of the refrigerator. It's like, sure, here you go. I've got like a bunch. Scully,
I really need to break down.
Like, how recent do you like 60 days, 90 days?
Yeah, I keep a bunch.
I keep them all indexed in my refrigerator. But yes, hell yeah, he makes a jerk-off joke to his partner who requested you be her sperm donor because she has a very narrow window to get pregnant and she's running out of time.
Yeah. And
perfect time for a jerk-off joke.
We've talked about how Scully doesn't have good men in her life, and this is proof.
She really doesn't, because Mulder really is the best choice in terms of the men in her life because she knows him the best. Like, you could argue, like, well, I mean, I don't know. Like the other men, like, who are the other people she knows? Skinner? Like, well, yeah, Skinner... He exudes excellence.
I would have asked Skinner.
I would have asked Skinner. But like, she doesn't know him that well. So
yeah, I still would have asked him. He's got strong swimmers.
Yeah, he does. Look at Skinner. Yeah. Everything about him just exudes excellence.
Right. I really want to point something out is that Scully actually, spoilers, is pregnant with Mulder's child.
Yes. Because
they had sex. Because reveal at the end of this episode is this doesn't take. Mulder as a sperm donor doesn't take, and it is implied later that are romantically involved. That to me is less unhinged than this, because having sex with Mulder, like, there's people are attracted to crazy. Mulder is he's not a piece of trash. Like, he's a good looking man.
No, Mulder's a handsome dude. He's just a goblin.
Heat of the moment. Yeah, heat of the moment, all that. I can see that happening. But looking at Mulder,
right,
and knowing
specifically selecting Mulder to be the other half of the DNA that's going to produce your child is a different decision than deciding to have sex with Mulder.
Happening.
Yeah.
But looking at Mulder, looking at his background, looking at his father, who is the cigarette smoking man, looking at his entire family history and him and the amount of times she has shot him more than once out of defense, and being like, that is the man that I want to be the father of my child. I don't know what to say. In the same fucking at least week that this guy revealed that he had secretly taken your fucking ova to a scientist and learned that you were barren and kept it from you, like,
and didn't tell you
God.
for like 6 years at least.
Yeah. She doesn't even flinch at that news. And it really shows how Scully has just, it's a cult, you know?
Right.
Skinner's in the cult, Scully's in the cult. They're all in the
he takes over everyone's life and completely destroys it. But yeah, her response to what Mulder tells her is, I think I need a second opinion. So she goes to see Dr. Parenti, who assures her that she's totally able to give birth as long as they act quickly. Hence, she rushes home to ask Mulder for his sperm. It's like, I'd go anonymous at that point.
Yeah.
Like, if Mulder's your best choice, just be like, man, just roll those dice.
Yes, roll the dice.
Maybe you'll get a baseball player.
Sweet Christ, Scully. We talked about, like, both of them are bad about this. Is any episode where they have a romantic interest, it's always the most unhinged person imaginable.
Right. It's the most toxic relationship. Always, hands down.
They really need to fucking recalibrate some stuff. But again, I feel like at this point, Mulder's like, Scully, Skinner, I'm going to need you guys to murder suicide for this to uncover the truth. And they're like, cool. Yeah, we've been expecting
They
this.
will. Yes, they will die for him. He is their Koresh.
Yeah, he is their Koresh at this point. It's been this very slow, like, you compare this Scully to season 1 Scully, and it's bleak. Stuff.
It's real dark. Yeah, she's fallen pretty far. Oh man,
my goodness.
That's
Having
real
this baby.
That's really the main thing.
Yeah, I mean, there's other things.
Like not reacting to the baby museum was weird as shit.
Oh yeah, for Scully. Mm-hmm. I mean, she brings this pregnant woman to a hospital, and she's like, this woman believes there's a monster in her tummy. We got to get it out. And it's like, I don't know if you needed to share that part with these doctors. Could have just said, like, this woman needs an emergency, delivery.
Right, and
it might be unsettling what you find in there. Like,
and then like in a lower voice, she says to the doctor, basically, she's not the only woman who might be pregnant with a monster.
Right.
And then like does like the meaningful eyebrow waggle. Like they have her procedures done too.
It's one of those, I'm going to need to run your badge moments where it's like, you could just be like a random person who like killed an FBI agent and took their badge and kidnapped this lady. Like, we don't know what this is, but we're like, certainly.
You could just be Ray Liotta in Identity. This could be a Ray Liotta in Identity situation. So
that should have tipped Scully off that these doctors weren't on the level. If they're just like, okay. And she should be like, what do you mean, okay? Did you just hear what I told you?
Did you hear
this?
Did you hear every word I said?
Yeah, I expected a little bit of pushback.
A little bit of resistance, but hey, maybe this is just a really good hospital. Let's see what their Yelp rating is.
Yeah, exactly. So she is, and she doesn't make good decisions. This whole episode's about bad choices, because at the end when fucking Adam Baldwin shows up and he's like, I know John Doggett, get in this
that's like the
terrifying van.
That's why it's like, I'm a friend of your parents, they've been in an accident. Like,
yeah, exactly.
Scully, it's Adam Baldwin. Don't get into a car with Adam Baldwin.
Yeah, into what can only be described as like a CIA
it's a
SUV.
Yukon. It's like the standard issue CIA SUV. It's like he's clearly a spook, and she just gets in the car with him.
It's the spy version of a white van.
Yeah.
It's just like, do not get into that car.
Absolutely not.
You will be disappeared.
It's dark. It's like forest green with deeply tinted windows. Don't get into that fucking car.
For the love of God. So Scully makes some very bad choices throughout this episode. And Mulder does too, but not in a way that's surprising.
Yeah.
In a way that's standard Mulder choices.
Pretty classic Mulder. He's playing all the hits this episode.
This episode is a whirlwind. We haven't even like talked about what happens really in the episode because these flashbacks are out of control.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's wild. We should talk about how John Doggett doesn't need this, right?
Right. I have one more Mulder thing real quick. Is that he was pen pals with a guy who was like, my wife was abducted.
He was pen pals with Duffy Haskell, the guy who turned out to be a CIA plant who was lying about his story.
Right. And apparently he gave the letters to Skinner because they were threatening.
I wrote down in my notes that I want to be a fly on the wall for that conversation. Like Mulder was receiving ranting, threatening letters from a UFO maniac, and he just gave them to Skinner.
Right, which I think is funny because what in Mulder's head, that's just not his job. And it's like, I'm pretty sure it's your job too, Mulder.
They never
like give it to the cops. Like he just gives it to Skinner, like you deal with this guy.
Skinner
he doesn't.
When Skinner reveals this, he doesn't explain why Mulder gave him the letters. Like the assumption is that Mulder passed on the letters because the guy was making threats against all these different doctors. But in actuality, Mulder might have passed it on because he was like, this guy is saying these doctors are evil alien baby harvesters. We need to look into this, sir.
I think if that was what he thought, he wouldn't give him to Skinner. I think he gave him to Skinner because he doesn't think there's aliens. And that's why he's just like, this isn't for me.
That makes the most sense, honestly.
Yeah. Where he's like, here, Skinner, you deal with this guy who might murder these doctors. Like when again, it should also be his job. Right.
Yeah. When he was when he got after the movie, when they got bussed down to like a Homeland Security detail, when he's like trying to make sure people aren't trying to be the next Timothy McVeigh, he thinks the assignment is beneath him.
Right.
To find terrorists.
That era of Mulder, there were probably so many deaths on his hands of bombings. Of Mulder just not paying attention because he's reading like some fucking ninja magazine or UFO mag or, a porn UFO ninja magazine while like just terrorism is being planned in the background and he's not paying attention.
Ninja fucking a squid on a flying saucer. That's what he's looking at. Well, Bigfoot 100%. Jacking off in the background.
I love the idea of a porn that's just Bigfoot jerking it.
Just Bigfoot
that's it.
Hammering away on his hog.
Porn for only a very specific group of people. Yeah, I guess it's time for our next segment then, right?
Yeah. It's time for John Doggett Doesn't Need This.
God, he sure doesn't.
It's just, this poor exasperated little man, this whole episode.
Yeah. So there's a general John Doggett basically has, like we said, he was just searching for Mulder and now he has to like be in charge of the X-Files, a thing he never wanted to be in charge of. And it starts with like this guy clearly coming into Doggett's office, like, my wife gave birth to an alien and died. And I've been like talking to your department for a while.
Murdered her. Yeah.
And Doggett's just like, okay, let me go through the files. Is this a new case? Is this an old case? What's your name, sir? Like I'm sure he's gotten like meetings like this at least twice a week since he's been on.
And what's funny is like he explains to Scully later, like Scully's like, well, how did you know all this? So, like, why did you think we would be interested in this story? And he's like, well, this is your story, isn't it? Like everything that this guy is describing is what happened to you. And she's sort of like taken aback. And he's like, well, I read all of the files. Like, I read them all. I'm familiar. And she's like, oh, well, I guess she's like, I guess I'm like so impressed with your familiarity. But the implication is that Doggett is such, like, we keep saying he's a serious detective. He's just, even though he's like mired in these booganses, he's still like, wow, fuck, I better read like he's still treating the X-Files as like precedent. Like it's still like, okay, these are all of our case files. This is what I'm going to read and research. This is what I'm going to base all of our theories and possible leads on. So he's still using this bug shit crazy text that is the X-Files.
He's got work ethic.
Right. Like, he still memorized it. Like it's still ridiculous, like fairies and werewolves, but he still sat down and read every single word of it.
If you forced him to work at the circus, he'd go to clown college.
Right.
He'd be like, all right, I got to do the work.
He'd be sitting there in clown makeup.
Yeah. Scully is furious at him for doing his job. Like, because she's like, why did you bring this guy in? And he's like, fuck, man, like, It's the X-Files. This guy says his wife gave birth to an alien. What was I going to do? Like say no? Like, I'm doing the work. Like, why are you mad that I'm doing the work? Is that
right?
And then she's mad that he looked at the files and he's like, I'm sorry for knowing what we do.
Right. The sort of arc between them in this episode is he's getting really frustrated with the fact that Scully's keeping so much from him, and so it's like it gets this very first scene between them, it gets to the point where he basically says, look, I'm just trying to do my job. I don't care if you're pregnant with a Bigfoot or whatever. I'm just collecting evidence because this guy says his wife was murdered by her doctors to steal her alien baby, and your doctor is one of those doctors.
Right. In the last episode, Scully strapped a camera to Doggett and just ordered him around. And I think after that, Scully's like, why don't we do everything like that? Mm-hmm. It's a great system. You go out, maybe die, and I just shout at good commands to you. And she's like mad that he's using his like brain in this episode. She's like, who told you to investigate? You're just the guy with the gun. I send you into things. You maybe die or you don't. That's our arrangement.
Like later in the scene where they meet up in the diner, it's Doggett and Skinner and Scully, with Skinner showing up in his finest casual wear for this diner meeting.
So they wake Doggett up in the middle of the night.
Middle of the night.
He says it. He says that. He's like, why'd you wake me for this? They make him go to a diner. Something that this could be a phone call. But they make him go, and what do they tell him?
They tell him, Skinner's like, look, Agent Doggett, Scully is taking a leave of absence. You're in charge of the X-Files now. Right. And he's like, hey, that's like, can I ask why? And Scully says no. And then Doggett says, okay, so it's just me now? I'm the X-Files.
Right. And he's like, also, email? You certainly you guys have email, right?
Right.
Like,
he does.
Do you conduct every meeting every time there's like a personnel change? Do you wake everybody up in the middle of the night and make them meet you at a diner? What are we doing?
To go to a diner with one overhead light to talk about this? He does.
They don't.
He does literally say, thanks for getting me out of bed to tell me this.
Yes, because there's no good reason. And then he's like, Scully, tell me something. And she's like, I'm assuring you I'm not risking your life. And it's like, okay.
Great.
So I'm still unclear of why I'm standing here. I took a shower. It's like 1 a.m. Yeah. I need to get up at 6 a.m. tomorrow.
I shaved at 12:45.
Yeah. Why am I here? And there is literally no good reason. She's just really dramatic and then gets in a fucking car with a pregnant lady.
A car with a pregnant lady that neither Doggett nor Skinner recognizes. Like Doggett's like, well, who is that in the car? And Skinner says, I legitimately don't know.
Right. And so of course he calls Adam Baldwin because he's like clearly because it's like they're playing hard to get where they're like, oh no, Doggett, you don't want to get involved with this. Well, we're just waking you in the middle of the night to tell you that. It's just, what's the fucking point?
Yeah, like they're playing this weird game about like keeping her pregnancy hidden from Doggett. Meanwhile, Doggett is investigating this desperate man who came to them telling them a crazy story about his wife being murdered by doctors after giving birth to an alien. And after doing a little bit of digging, he finds out that the guy is faking his identity. The identity he took, this Duffy Haskell, is a guy that died 20 years ago. And that's why he gets Adam Baldwin involved. He's like, this guy has to be a CIA spook. Who is he?
Yes. But also, again, like, nobody's telling him nothing. Like, if they just told him something, maybe Scully, honestly, maybe Adam Baldwin wouldn't have been involved. You know, like, with being weirdly withholding from Doggett might have caused all their problems.
Right.
And it's so bizarre that they don't simply say, like, listen, Doggett, Scully's got to take a leave of absence. We can't tell you why. Just, you know, just stay away from this.
They're treating it. They're treating it like an episode of The Bachelor. Like they're like Skinner and Scully seem to be weirdly concerned primarily with like the high school melodrama of keeping her pregnancy secret from Doggett. And like Doggett just found out that like a dead man came into the FBI building to tell them doctors killed his wife.
Right.
Like, I think we should look into this.
Yeah, they can just say like, listen, keep moving on with the other cases right now. Scully is doing something involving that, and we just don't want to involve you because there's personal aspect. Like if they're just open, but like at least, I mean, again, in an email, like, why this specific scene? I can't get past that they called him at like 1 or 2 in the morning to come to a diner to tell him nothing.
Yep, absolutely nothing.
It's like when a teenager wants to be seen being mopey.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like clearly they want the attention. I don't know why they're doing this way. Fucking madness. John Doggett does not need this. He really doesn't.
There's one more thing that I wanted to call out, and that's later on in the episode, one of Doggett's friends comes down to talk to him while he's in the X-Files office, which is Mulder's office in the basement. And his buddy is like, "What are you doing in the dark?" And Doggett says, "I'm in the dark pretty much all my time in the X-Files, Joe." And obviously he's commenting on how Scully doesn't tell him anything, but also it's literally always dark in Mulder's office. Yes. So like this is like confirming that there are no lights in there, that like Mulder had them removed.
Yes. And they should. The moment Mulder got abducted, do you think day 2, Doggett would be like, "Okay, let's get some lights in here." Like
the lights make Mulder's skin hurt.
Yeah. Why is he existing down here like Dracula? It's no need to do this.
Yep. Eating
but again,
spiders
Doggett,
underneath his Bigfoot poster.
He's such a company guy where he's like, "I guess that's how we do things here."
Yep.
You know? Okay, no lights. Sure. I guess like he's just so on board to a fault where he's just like, "I don't know, man, just tell me what to do here." And he's broken at this point. He's tasted death, as we talked about. In a previous episode, John Doggett literally dies like 2 episodes ago and is regurgitated by a monster that regenerates him. And so, I do believe Doggett has mostly given up. It's quite something. I've never seen someone's life get ruined. Like even Krychek, it took a while for his life to be ruined by Mulder. Doggett's life is ruined in like a year.
Less than 3 months.
Yeah. And Mulder isn't even around.
Mulder's not even there. It's just Mulder's influence is destroying his life.
Yeah.
Like a ship dashed against the rocks.
Right. And then his fucking friends are just coming to make fun of him now.
Yeah.
He's in this shit basement and people are taking turns dunking on him. Like
there's just a line going out of the office.
Yeah, it's like how Scully's medical career went down the drain the moment she got on the X-Files. Like Doggett, he's never going to be taken seriously ever again. He's done, you know? He's going to be on like Discovery, like alien documentaries from here on. Just like having to like...
Yeah, he's going to be on Ancient Aliens. He's going to be like one of their authority talking heads on Ancient Aliens because he's an FBI agent.
Yeah, the interviews are going to be him like, "Oh, fuck, I don't know, man." And they're like, "But you have seen aliens." And he's like, "Yeah, I have." I don't care. Like, poor fucking Doggett. This is it for him.
Yeah, it really is. He's done.
Should we get into fireable offenses?
Sure.
Fuck, man. I completely didn't even think about it because Mulder in this, it's fireable from like a friendship.
Yeah.
Like he should be ejected from his relationship with Scully.
Yes.
In terms of the FBI, I don't think we get anything.
Not really. Scully makes some weird decisions with the pregnant woman she's trying to help, but
there's a case to be made that Scully kidnapped a pregnant woman who thought that she had an alien in her. And when you look at that from like, say, an outside perspective, doesn't look great. She's not wrong, you know? But it's one of those conspiracy episodes where you always wonder, like, I don't know, it feels like they can just fire them.
Right, like how does this look on paper? This looks insane on paper.
Right. It's that thing where, like, in old episodes, they'd be like, "Why don't we just kill Mulder?" And they'd be like, "You risk turning one man's religion into a crusade." And it's like, okay, but you could like fire him, right?
Yeah.
Like
we could drown him at a pool, right?
Right.
Like Mulder just turns up in the surf.
Right. And in this case, it's like they could on paper
with his ankle lashed to a surfboard.
Right. They could make a case that Scully kidnapped a woman who is delusional. But you know, it's hard. It's tough because it's all conspiracy shit at this point. Yeah. It's that weird aspect to the X-Files that I always like to mention, which is like the cigarette smoking man is Mulder's mortal enemy, but also just like a guy in his office. So like, there's got to be like a couple times Mulder was
literally sees him in the break room in one episode.
Exactly. Like, there's got to be a point where like he was taking a dump next to him in the bathroom. Like, it's a weird dynamic. Is all I'm saying.
Yeah.
So yeah, not much for fireable offenses, I would say. Name the enabler.
I guess Skinner, in a way.
Yeah, he's enabling the Scully shit for sure. Like, he calls Doggett into this office, you know? If we're talking about who's enabling Scully, it's definitely Skinner. Like, or not into the office, into the diner. Like, it's Skinner doing the weird smoke and mirrors shit. Not being a very good boss.
Yeah.
Being like a weirdo, you know?
Yeah.
I guess he's not technically their boss anymore.
Is it? Well, that's right. Kirsch is. I mean, he's still assistant director, but like, anyway.
He's just sort of a guy who like hangs out with them. Yeah, I think it's Skinner.
It's the closest thing we have to an enabler in the episode.
Yeah, I mean, Scully enables Mulder's jizz, Mulder's porn habit, you know?
Mulder doesn't need that much enabling for that.
No, he really doesn't. He was going to jerk off to a cup that day either way.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, it's time for Crazy Like a Fox then.
Oh, man, it sure is. Folks, this is the part of the episode where we assign a numerical rating from 1 to 10 to grade Agent Fox Mulder and Agent Scully's behavior. 1 being cool, collected, professional, adult, a representative of the American government. A 10 being none of those things.
Yeah. Well, I would say a representative of the American government is a bad metric just because of how unhinged the things we've done.
That's
but
true.
You all get it.
An authority
Let's start
figure.
With Scully.
Yeah.
Scully's a 10, right? Just
Scully's a flat out
sperm?
10. Scully's a flat out 10 for everything she does in this episode. Wanting Mulder's sperm. The baby museum that she's just like, well, that was peculiar. Don't need to follow up on that.
Normally, so it should be noted that normally 10s are reserved to putting a lot of lives in danger. But what sometimes elevates it is just acts of just like, you know, breathtaking, fucking
just
unhinged.
Sheer
acts.
Unhinged. Yeah.
Yeah. And Scully, after 8 fucking years with Mulder, just being like, I want your sperm, that's enough for me. That's enough. Where it's like, really, really Scully.
Him. Out of all the people you theoretically know, this guy.
Yeah. Out of a stranger.
A man who didn't have a bed until another man took possession of his body.
Right. Yes, Mulder does not have a bed for 5 seasons. Mm-hmm. And so equally 10, I would say, is Mulder for keeping the fact that his partner and friend is barren away from her for years.
That entire scene is a 10. It's the fact of that secret that he kept, the way that he tells her that secret, and the fact that he finishes telling her, I knew about your scooped out eggs. They were in a government facility. I took them to a guy. He said no dice, so I threw them in the trash as he's getting off the elevator.
Yeah. And the fact that both characters completely unfazed by the news. Neither of them think there's anything wrong with what just happened. It's a 10 all around. We're just balls deep.
10s all around, yes.
Yeah. That is fucking wild.
It's a real binary episode.
Yeah.
10-0-1-0. Yep.
Yep. Holy shit. This episode really snuck up on me.
Yeah, what a journey. Yeah.
Yeah. I was fucking floored by this. It's a weird 10 because it's a 10 that's all just dialogue. Like, it's just the things the characters say. Usually Mulder has to, I don't know, hijack a gondola.
Or jump onto a train.
Yeah, or jump onto the top of a train, or give someone, like a civilian, a gun in that episode as well. Or, you know, get on a plane with an alien explosive device. Usually it's an action, and this time it's just words.
It's just him existing as himself.
Yeah, my goodness.
Man, well, yeah, I wasn't expecting 2 10s when I started this episode, but they come quick and they come hard in this episode.
like Mulder.
Like Mulder.
Yeah. Gross. Real gross. So that's the episode.
Man, we've done it. That was a sode.
Yeah. I don't want to spoil too much, but next episode, I believe, is the return of Mulder, not just in flashback form.
I think so. I think you're right.
Yeah. So we got a whole lot to deal with soon. We got a lot of tense on the horizon. And so if people are interested, if you haven't yet, you can go to patreon.com/gamefullyunemployed to get all of these episodes. Also other episodes or other series like Tom and Jeff Watch Batman, Star Trek The Next Futurama, Spiel Boys. Those are all exclusive podcasts for just $5 a month. You get 4 different podcasts.
Yeah.
For $5.
Yeah.
It's a good deal. We actually will also watch movies with our patrons every Friday night. We should do Fight the Future again at some point. I would delight in that.
Absolutely. We should do that.
Yeah.
We also have a store. Head over to gamefullyunemployed.com where you can find a link to our Teespring store where we have all kinds of cool original artwork and designs, including some Mulder designs.
We have a lot of Mulder stuff.
We do have a lot of Mulder stuff. You can get on t-shirts, mugs, stickers, posters, all sorts of things. So slap your Bigfoot Jack and Peepers onto that.
We do have a Mulder Bigfoot. We have the Mulder courtroom sketch.
That's the best one. I think
that's the best one.
There's a lot of.
They're all great.
There's a couple of good ones. There's the Field Where I Died one. There's some good ones.
Yeah, there is, and of course the fucking Always Sunny Mulder.
Yes, Mulder with the conspiracy chart.
Yeah. It's God, beautiful.
Check it out.
Maniac.
Check it out.
Yeah, and happy Mulder Day as always.
As always, to you and yours. Keep Mulder in your heart.
Yeah.
Don't let him out. Don't let him out.
And in your ova.
Yeah.
Keep them in your womb.
Deep in your womb.
Yeah. Little Mulder squirming in there.
Oh, no. I don't like that at all.
Where's my sister?
Where's my sister?
Gross. Artwork for Fox Mulder's A Maniac is produced by Starlene Hodge. Follow her on Twitter at StarleneX, that's Starlene with an X, or check out her delightful webcomic at rubywhipple.com.